y'all, and welcome back to my channel. And welcome to another installment of makeup I'm really glad that I didn't buy for one reason or another. And one reason or another meaning, sometimes you're like, I'm not gonna buy that, and then it's absolutely awful. It gets totally trashed, it has bad reviews, and you're like, oh yeah, I feel so good, I knew it. And then you just have other things that like you initially would have purchased and you're like, oh yeah, this is gonna be great. And then as you've kind of developed and grown and the hype of that product has died down, you're like, I'm really glad I didn't buy that because it would have been wasted money. So we're just gonna go through a few things, and some of these things I was like scrolling through Trend Mood and I was like, that happened last year. Like, I could not believe, like, there were these things and I'm like, I can't believe that happened in 2019. And I kept scrolling and I went all the way to 2018. I was like, I gotta stop. And that was just the end of the tail end of 2018 going into 2019. I was just like, so much stuff. So I could probably make a product that I'm glad I didn't buy like once a month because there'd be so much makeup to talk about. But these are some things that have really stood out that I've got some like astute opinions, some knowledge and thoughts on. So let's just go right on into it. And the product that really sparked I think I was watching a highlighter declutter or something like that, and someone pulled up the CoverFX glitter drops, which y'all know your girl likes looking like a fan-tucking fabulous unicorn at all times. And when these first came out, I lusted after them so much. I was like, CoverFX? Liquid metal, but it's got glitter in it. And they had the blue and the pinky. They were very much in my kind of like kawaii Harajuku, that kind of aesthetic. But I think they're like $34 a piece. And that's a lot of money for a liquid highlighter because y'all know your girl isn't so good on using the liquid highlighters. I'll use a powder until it dies, but liquid highlighter's just gonna sit there. And so looking back, this is definitely more of they have kind of like, you got those that love it and those that don't. It's kind of a niche product. It's not one of those, yeah, let's use this every day type thing. And looking at it, I'm so glad that I didn't like initially, like there were so many times where I thought, I'm like, this is gonna be it. I'm gonna buy one of them. It's gonna be great. And they had like a couple times where they had them in like gift sets or whatever, and for some reason I just never went in on that. And I'm so glad because I have liquid highlighters, y'all know this. I have liquid highlighters that I do not use, and I have liquid highlighters that I do not use because they turn into glitter on my face. And so to have a highlighter that's it's glitter drops, it's not even like highlighter drops, it's let's take this, like I feel like we have not perfected the technology of suspending glitter in liquid that then transfers to your face and is gonna stay there. I mean, it's gonna stay on your face, but all over your face rather than just staying on the little high points of the places that you place it. Because I know it will be a thing where I'll be like, well, I'll totally be using this every day and I'm so extra and I'm so alternative, when in reality I'm just reaching for the same glowy whateverness highlighters, and those would literally be sitting there up with my Jeffree Star Skin Frost that I don't use because they turn into glitter. And so I'm glad at least at that point I was able to have a small level of rationality that was like, I feel like we got a little bit of hindsight on this. And so I'm just really glad because it would literally be wasted money, because I'm just like, I'm not gonna be doing a liquid glitter highlighter. If I'm gonna do glitter, y'all know I got my Jeffree Star, my Kat Von D, and my Ciate London, and that's it. Then something that I'm glad, this is definitely one of those things where it just wouldn't get used. This would be very much kind of like an impulse buy. Kat Von D. We all know that she has, done left and whatever, and they're rebranding their Kat Von D Vegan Beauty. Because apparently being vegan is more important than being a good person. But she released, back when she released her highlighters, we're kind of going into that liquid highlighter thing again. She released, they're heavily discounted now. So if any of y'all, this is the time to get it, don't get it, just don't get it. But if you're gonna do it, now's the time to do it. But she released the liquid, clicky, puffy pen of her whatever Metal Crush highlighters, and I just like, there was a part of me that was like, it's a highlighter, it's Kat Von D. This was on the cusp right before she started spiraling out of control. And so there was a part of me that was just like, yeah, just do it. It's highlighter. It's Kat Von D. This is gonna be great. And you know, kind of second verse, same as the first, liquid highlighter. Although I feel like this kind of liquid highlighter I would kind of be okay with, because it's got like the little applicator where you boop, 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 boop. You know, I'm kind of okay with that, because part of the reason I hate liquid highlighters, you gotta pull it out and you gotta dab, 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 and do all that, and you got highlighter everywhere. Y'all know I love highlighter, but I like highlighter in a controlled environment where it's not, you know, everywhere. And so I'm just glad that I didn't get those, that I didn't buy into the hype. They probably would have been decluttered by now, because it's just something, at that point, even then, I was able to realize within myself that liquid highlighters, even if they're from Kat Von D, even if they look all kinds of fancy ethereal colors, even then I was able to understand and comprehend that I don't use liquid highlighters. Although I do sometimes use them squeezed into things, but these, I mean, you don't get that much in the product, and I don't think we need a pearlescent baby blue squeezed into our highlighter. But if that's you, if that you do you, obviously I ain't here to judge nobody. And another Kat Von D product that, once again, it would have been kind of like a, oh, this was, you know, do I want to get it? It's Kat Von D, but she released those. There was a little bit where she was like, let's just release these really random products that are like prototype products, but we're charging people to try them out. Yeah, I'm not sure who approved that PR move, but they were her cream foil eyeshadows, which apparently a lot of people really like. I am not a cream or liquid eyeshadow person. I like powders. Y'all know I go hard in for some powder whatevers. The only cream eyeshadows that I'm kind of okay with are the ones one of y'all sent me from Sydney Grace. Those are the bomb. But like, I just don't use cream eyeshadows. And y'all know your girl has issues with cream products, because you buy it, and unless you're using it every day, every time you use your makeup, you ain't gonna get your money's worth out of it before it dries up. And so it's just, she released like 2 colors, like the releases that were just kind of like, here's this random eyeliner, here's this random gold glitter hybrid something thing that I haven't even figured out what to use it for yet. And then here are these, you know, weird cream whatever eyeshadows that were not even doing a, you know, this wasn't even a tease thing, you know, Trend Mood didn't even talk about it. They just showed up on the Sephora site. It was just like, oh, look at this. Because I feel like a lot of the mysticism, you know, with Kat Von D, we'd hear about her like products like a year in advance. We're like, oh boy, that's gonna be holiday this year. We're gonna be excited. And that just kind of stopped happening. She just kind of started releasing things that just showed up. And as such, I feel like the expectation for her brand really, really lowered, because people were like, well, no one's talking about it. You know, there's no buildup, there's no anticipation. So a lot of, you know, respect and thought and whatever that people had for her products just kind of, And I'm glad that I didn't include this in my like desperate attempts to like, is she gonna come back? Is this gonna be the product that's gonna be amazing? Because it would be sitting in my thing of singles that don't get used. Okay, one thing that I'm really happy I didn't get, because it's horrible. A lot of people have said it's horrible, and I was watching Teresa is Dead, her declutter, and she pulled up the Too Faced peanut butter and honey palette, and she was like, this is awful, this is horrible, why is this even, you know, garbage makeup? And she ain't wrong at all. It's, oh my stars, like, I didn't buy this because I was starting to get that like a little bit disillusioned with Too Faced. I was getting a little bit more particular about what I was buying rather than just buying everything that was released. And looking at it, it's just this like pale, pasty, washed out gnarliness. Like, I mean, I'm not sure what they were thinking with the color story. It just kind of, I mean, if you were not washed out before using this, you're gonna be washed out after using it. The pigmentation wasn't there, the blendability wasn't there. All the people that loved the Too Faced mini palettes, you know, the peanut butter and jelly, the macaroons one, the, you know, all of those, they were like, what happened? What happened? It used to be that their little teeny tiny mini palettes had better quality than their big palettes, and everyone was like, what went wrong? I mean, we know what went wrong. Too Faced started releasing way too much stuff all the time, and this was one of those products that suffered from poor execution. And I'm just so happy I didn't buy that shiz, because like I said, it would just be sitting here with all the other Too Faced ones that I really need to come to terms with and declutter. So that's just you're glad you passed on it because you knew you weren't going to use it, and you're glad you passed on it because the quality ended up being terrible. Then another product that I'm glad I didn't buy, and I anti-hauled it, but I may purchase another product kind of in lieu of this product. I think I already anti-hauled this, but the Lime Crime Venus Immortalis, which aesthetically, I mean, the whole Venus whatever thing is very aesthetically pleasing to me. And then when they took it and they made it black and white and gothy and vampy, and they made it glow in the dark, like 2008 Soraya was having a moment and dreaming of all the wonderful but awful raccoon eye looks she could create with those black shades. But I have heard from a myriad of people that the quality wasn't all that it was kind of a more difficult to blend palette. It wasn't very evocative of their traditional Venus palette formulas. And I'm glad I didn't get it, because looking at it, I mean, when it comes, y'all know, for as goth as I am, I don't use black a lot in my looks. I just don't. I used to just be like all black, but when it comes to like other colors and everything and then deepening it up with black, I just don't go there a lot. And if I do, I have my black formulas that I absolutely love. I've got Anastasia, I've got Kat Von D, I've got black shades that make me happy. And so, hearing about that, and you're looking at the shades, it's very, I wish it had more gradient to it. Like, I feel like a lot of the shades are kind of like this washed out, subtle something, it's like, yeah, it's only 8 shades, but I feel like they didn't use up their real estate really well. And I might actually purchase the ColourPop one that's basically the same thing, because for the most part, y'all know I am a very big fan of the monochromatic palette, ColourPop palette formulas. And so if I'm gonna get something that's gonna be that dark, vampy, that sort of thing, I can get that, and then I can declutter something, say the Urban Decay Smoky palette, or my Kat Von D palettes that I've been holding on for too long, that I've had for like 6 years, that are probably going to give me an eye infection. So obviously we're gonna see. I might get that one before I do my what monochromatic ColourPop palette is best for you video, but we'll have to see. Then something that I'm happy that I didn't get, I mean, a lot of this is just kind of self-realization of being like, wow, I'm really happy I didn't jump in on that bandwagon, because it wouldn't get used. When a new product is released, we get all this like crazy, yeah, something new, woohoo, it's gonna be amazing. And then if you give yourself some time to pull back and really think about it, you're like, yeah, no, that's not something you get caught up in the new release, in the fancy, and the all, whatevers of it. And I was very tempted by the Dominique Cosmetics Celestial Storm palette. Now, I know Lacey from Spooky Lips and Fat Hips has it. I should probably ask her how it is. And you're looking at it, and that first initial, you're like, oh wow, that's pretty. It's got the pink and the purple and the pop of that aqua, the whole theme behind it was very much there. But like I said, upon initial, you're like, oh wow, that's pretty. But then if you take the shades, and this is one thing that I'm gonna start doing, and I've been doing in 2020, is you take the shades and you remove the packaging, you remove the fanfare, and you just look at the shades on their own. You identify the shades that you're really drawn towards, and the other shades that are like, I could live without, they're just kind of there because it's a palette. And then you take those shades and you're like, okay, I'm gonna take this really pretty pink shade, and let's find out if I have something similar to it in my collection, with which 99.9% of the time I do. Or let's take that to, is there really anything that makes this unique? Or is there really any reason that I need this and that I can't, that having this palette will help me create a look that I can't create with those shades that I already have in other palettes just because they're in one palette. Like, do you get what I mean? You know, you just separate yourself from the palette on a whole and look at its parts rather than the sum of it all. Something else that I really wanted, this was from Milk Cosmetics. You know, they're the kind of brand that I'm kind of like, oh yeah, they're one of the brands that kind of started replacing Kat Von D, if you want me to be real with y'all. But they released the Melt Shape Shift stack. It was just 4 shades. And they were these really, they had a blue and a green and a grungy red. You know, they were these really like transformative, morphing, whatever, duochrome something shades. And I wanted it so bad. But essentially, what it is 4 single shades. You know, I mean, you're not going to this palette to this, it's a stack. You're not going to that to be like, yes, I'm going to create a complete and definitive look, unless you're just taking 1 or 2 of those shades and going all whatever, which is something that I'm trying to start to do again, because that's how I used to do my makeup. I just take blue and take it all up in the whatevers. But you know, from a practical sense, you know, it just kind of wasn't there. I have heard from a couple of y'all that they're not all that they kind of look the same on the eye and that they're a little bit more difficult to work with. I mean, I feel like with this thing, it's kind of the same thing with any of the single shadows I've talked about. I have a little drawer of single shadows that every time I do a declutter, I whittle it down a little bit more and a little bit more because I just don't reach for them. I mean, I should probably honestly try to depot them and put them in another palette so I can be like, oh look, they're in palette form, they're all here, maybe I'll use them now, which may or may not happen. But you know, it's, you know, I'm glad I didn't get it because I know that it wouldn't get, like, I'm not gonna go in on like one shade, like I think it was like $50 or something like that, and be all like, yeah, this is great, it's totally worth 4 shades that I'm probably never going to use, that are just going to sit there and that are going to be there for very specific looks that I may do once every 2 months. You know, the use per buy kind of ratio, you know, whenever you use it, whenever you buy it, you break the price down over how many times you've used it. That's just not there. It's not going to break even. And so I'm kind of sad that I missed out on like well, I think it's still there if I want to buy it. But you know, I'm just like, it wouldn't have gotten the use. It would just be sad and pitiful sitting there, and I would swatch them every time I would do a declutter, and I'd feel bad for not using it, and then it would go back in the drawer and continue to collect dust. Next up is the Natasha Denona. This is a relatively, I think this was one of her holiday things, but y'all know that your girl loves Natasha Denona face products. If she makes a powder highlighter or a powder blush, or even a cream one, I'm probably gonna want to try that shiz out. And so she released this like duo, which I love her blush duos. I love her highlight. You know, there's those like, okay, all right, Natasha doing a face compact thing, I'm in. And it was obviously something that was like, cause you had like one shade that would be like for say my skin tone. And then it had this really deep bronzy gold that's obviously gonna be someone for the deeper melanin. So it's kind of like, you know, if you're my skin tone, you can use one of them. And if you're a deeper skin tone, you can use one of them, but you can't really use both of the colors. And so that was kind of, I feel like, a little bit of poor marketing there. It just wasn't very thought out. Like, let's put 2 gold shades together. One of them's really light and one of them's really deep, and people can use just one of them. And I understand there's the whole, well, you can use it as an eyeshadow. I'm not here to spend $38 on a highlighter thing where I can use one of the shades as a highlighter, one of this big ginormous pan of highlighter that's too dark for me that I'm going to use on my eyes every, you know, once every 2 months. Yeah, I'm about paying $38 for that shit. I want to use all of it. And then the reviews started rolling in, and the reviews kind of came to the consensus of, this is a very hard-pressed, effervescent fairy fart of glitter. Like I said, if you're going to put glitter in a highlight, that's fine, but you better perfect that formula before you put it on the market. And this was not a perfected formula. This was nothing like her super glows or her whatever. I mean, just like, her regular highlight formula is creamy and popping and beautiful, and this just wasn't it. And I'm really glad I didn't jump on that. It's a Natasha Denona. Oh, it's so pretty. Because it was, with the packaging and everything, it had a very solid aesthetic going for it, but I'm just glad I didn't jump on that bandwagon thinking it was gonna be this perfect Natasha Denona highlighter experience, when in reality, it wasn't. Another very practical, I'm glad I didn't buy, but y'all know, I mean, I feel like I say that about everything. Y'all know I like this brand, y'all know I like this, but Jeffree Star was like, I'm gonna release a crap ton of glosses. And me being the whatever, I was like, yeah, I kind of want some of that. I kind of want some of those. I didn't get them. I didn't review them. And, you know, I've kind of thought about picking one up here and there. We got the clear one in the Conspiracy collection. It's a nice formula, but thinking about myself and looking back on how much I've used a gloss since his were released, probably about 5 times, but it could be closer to 3. I know I wore a gloss to my brother's wedding, and that's about as far back as my memory goes. Because I literally have those cute little acrylic drawers, and I've got 4 of them, four I can count, filled with lip glosses. I've got Wet n Wild. I love, if I'm going to use a lip gloss, let's just be real right here. Y'all know the Lunar Beauty lip glosses. Oh, amazing. Fantastic formula. But I'm good, you know, when you wear wigs and you got the gloss and it does this, that's not a fun experience. So I'm not going for gloss a lot, and I feel like if I do, I'm good, you know, because I know a lot of them are really pretty and crazy shades. And I'm like, yeah, I'd like to have a pink to blue duochrome shift gloss. I'm like, but how often are you going to use that? You're going to look at it and you're going to swatch it and it's going to be beautiful. And during a declutter, you're going to feel bad for not using it. And you're going to think about all the beautiful ethereal looks you could do with it. When in reality, you're just going to go for that same goldy champagne perfect highlighty shade that you love from Bare Minerals or Lunar Beauty, and you're not going to use the Jeffree Star one. So I'm so glad I didn't buy one, let alone potentially buying the whole collection and reviewing them, because they're big, they're bulky, they're ostentatious. I would have to get another acrylic drawer and I wouldn't use them. So at least we've got a little bit of insight into ourselves there. Then, last but not least, let us discuss sort of 2 palettes that kind of represent the same gratitude I have for not buying them. It's not that they're bad. One of them got rave reviews, and out of that collection, people were like, this is the thing you need to get. But firstly, the Urban Decay Kristen Leanne collection, which I do have the highlighter palette. Love that. It's amazing. But she released this like little one with all matte shades, and then this one that was all colorful shades, and people loved that. They were like, this is so great, this is amazing Urban Decay quality. Why doesn't Urban Decay go back to formulating this sort of thing? And you know, I mean, just thinking, being able to have time to think and reflect on your makeup usage over the years, kind of following things like this being released, yes, it had really pretty bright colors, but y'all know I'm a matte lover. You know, I've got, this is all matte and then just a little bit shimmer all up in there. You know, the backbone of a palette and the backbone of my eyeshadow existence is built on matte shades. And this was, I think, 80% shimmers. And when it comes to like colorful shimmers, kind of like just when it comes to my collection on a whole, I have ones that I reach for regularly. I have colorful shimmers that I'm like, okay, I'm doing this look, I need to use that. You know, in my purchasing of ColourPop and everything like that, of Juvia's Place, I've got affordable ones. I've got probably every color shimmer imaginable. You know, this is something that, yeah, I probably would have enjoyed it while I was using it, but it's definitely something that at this point in my life would be decluttered. And same goes in with the Tarteist Pro Remix, which I had very close moment of weakness when it went on sale for like 50% off, and I was like, I am very tempted by that. But I did hold my ground. We didn't get it, and I'm really glad, because obviously matte, I keep repeating myself, I feel, but I love matte shades. And you look at the Tarteist Pro, what I love about the original one is you've got those shades of mattes, and then you've got the shimmers all up on the, you know, the way that palette is like designed and laid out. I love it. This is just a mishmash of brightly colored shimmers with other not so brightly colored shimmers. I think it has like, It doesn't have a lot of mattes in it at all. And I've heard good things about the quality. You know, I love the original Tarteist Pro, you know, and things like that. But once again, looking at it now with a more constructive, you know, more critical eye, and knowing myself, like the Kristen Leanne one, this would literally be something that during this phase of my declutter, I would let it go. I'd just be like, yeah, you know, whatever. But there are literally other formulas that I absolutely love that give me these colors. There is no reason for me to own this. And I really hope that's something I can just continue taking on into 2020, is my ability to step back and to really think about what I own, because I want to look at my makeup as, yeah, I like collecting and stuff like that, but I want to look at my makeup collection and be like, what can you do for me? Is this palette going to make my makeup experience that much better, or am I wanting to buy it just because of a stupid reason? Because if I take things out and look at them, I'll be like, you know, I'm not going to use you, I'm not going to use you, I'm not going to, you know, I'm able to look at it more subjectively and be like, well, I don't need that because I already have something like that that does it for me. So I hope I can take that kind of energy into 2020, through 2020. It is 2020, because hindsight is 2020. All right, y'all, there we have that for my products. I'm glad I didn't buy for one reason or another, you know, and you can be glad for not buying a product for your own personal reasons. It doesn't always have to be just because, well, this thing was a piece of crap. You know, you don't necessarily need to have, you know, that kind of vindication. You can just look at yourself and be like, huh, I'm so glad I didn't buy that, because it would have been a waste of money. That would have been like $50 just right down the drain. So obviously let me know what you feel about these products. Obviously, if there's something you absolutely love and you're like, well, it's right, you don't know what you're talking about, that Tarteist Pro Remix is the best palette that was ever released, I would love to hear y'all's thoughts on that. And also let me know something down below that you're glad that you didn't end up buying. But thank you guys so much for watching. I love you, and as always, keep it real. Mwah!